Good evening and welcome live to Performance Links for the Performance Link GT3 Cup. We're in the final 3 rounds of the championship, and tonight we are here at the Autodrome José Carlos Pace, or commonly known as Interlagos. It's certainly going to be a challenge for the drivers here tonight because the temperature is touching 52-degree track temperature. So, we've never had any of the drivers changing tyres half through this hour-long race, so it's going to be interesting to see if some of the drivers do decide to take that. My name is Andy Thompson. I'm joined as always by Dave Whitehouse, and we've got the wonderful Lewis Arara in production giving us our wonderful pictures here tonight. Dave, welcome to the booth. Last 3 rounds of the season, it's getting interesting.
Yeah, it certainly is getting interesting. Welcome everybody. Sorry you can't see me. That's my issue with my cameras. So we'll get that sorted for next week because you love to see our beautiful faces. But yeah, this is Interlagos. What a circuit we've got. Always provides action, great chances to overtake, and a mix of twisty and fast areas of the circuit. So it's a real mix. And 3 races to go. Pressure is getting to some drivers. It's starting to get there, and we're seeing very mixed results in terms of some drivers good on some circuits, some drivers on another, and it's unpredictable every single week.
It certainly is, and that's the beauty of league racing: is you're good at some courses, and other courses you're not. But let's have a look at the current standings as they were after the last round at the Red Bull Ring. So there we go. In the pros, we got Scott Mopes currently on 183, and you have Aaron Palin, Thomas Cope in second and third, trying to chase him down at the moment. But Scott seems to be Mr. Consistent at the moment, so not sure if he's going to be able to make one of the rounds, so he needs to maximise his points there at the top of the pro standings. In fourth place, we got Arias Yamantas, not that far off Thomas Cope, and although Thomas was on a charge, certainly the last round was one for him to forget, getting a drive-through penalty and speeding in the pit, so really needs to make up for that here tonight. Kim Andre Bortland in fifth place on 147. Nikolai Thrain in sixth on 140, and Jakob Behrens in the Ford after an excellent podium last time out in the Red Bull Ring, and has only gone and put it in third place here tonight on the grid as well. So really getting to grips with that Ford at the moment, but that is the pro standings. Let's have a look at the pro-ams.
So in the pro-am standings, we have the leader, Michael Hooper, the driver we saw take an overall win at Spa, leading the way. A nice little gap there for him to protect going into these final 3 rounds ahead of Patrick Thompson, James Logston and Casper Tunstad fighting it out for third. Casper missing the last round. He should be here tonight. Russ Fowler in fifth. Alex Scarrett, who's been mightily improved as the season has gone on, in sixth. And then Tom Bingham, who's showing some pace here tonight, our overlord, there in seventh.
Definitely is. And looking over to the AMs, currently Sander Island leading out the way on 202 points, but the ever-charging Steve Pearce behind him on 190, so 12 points difference. It's going to be a tall order for Steve to try and catch Sander, but if any previous results are to go by, Steve is certainly going to be there or thereabouts by the end of the season. Gordon Hagen, third place on 162, pretty much in no man's land at the moment. Jimmy Varg in fourth, David Gill in fifth, Joe Sal in sixth, Simeon Mordeklev in seventh, and Mad Sayer in the top 8.
And we look at the rookie standards. It's a bit depleted in terms of grid, but not in terms of quality. Paul Joseph Kliss leads the way now for Olympus Esports, just ahead of Matthew Gerard. Lewis McLevin is here tonight, so we have at least 3 rookies on the grid, ahead of Lydia Rose and Victor Lind. So it's going to be a interesting fight between the 3 rookies to see who comes out on top with these final 3 rounds to go.
Yeah, certainly is. And obviously you were mentioning this track at the start, sort of like split into 2 halves. Oh, we have the team standing, sorry, I get ahead of myself. Team Bear Pub at the moment currently on 439 points, with Sim Racing Norway right on the heels on 438. in second, so super close between them two. Our very own Performance Link on 390, again sort of in no man's land, too far to catch Sim Racing Norway. Reckless Abandonment's just a little bit off Performance Link, so it's going to be a tall order for them to get into the top three. Olympus Esports in 5th, Evo SR in 6th, Evo SR Black in 7th, IGL Coatings in 8th, Nordic Racing in 9th, and GT Akamane in 10th place. So super close at the top of the championship standings. But like I was saying, you know, Interlagos, one of them tracks, I absolutely love this track. It's split into two halves, like you said. You've got the really long start-finish straight here that we're just watching Nikolai frame. Then coming down into the Senna S's, a really tight, twisty, and I expect some action here coming down into the first corner there on the start here, and then a little bit of a sprint here coming down to another tricky corner on the circuit. Really got to get your braking marker correct, trying to clip the inside, running out slightly wide but not too wide like that, because you will get one of them pesky off tracks around the track again. 20 and you will get a drive through. Then coming up into the infield side of the GP track, very twisty, so it's all about throttle control, braking points, and be able to do, I mean, one of the tricky bits of this track is going to be that track temperature. It's just rising all the time, so the car will be sliding a lot, and it's all about the throttle control, where you go with the brake, trying to cover off your apex. It's going to be extremely tricky for drivers to make them passing moves. Before we get into this, the open section now, very tricky last corner again, just to make sure you carry in enough speed to get that maximum speed down this long straight. And this is really going to see a lot of overtaking moves, certainly with the slipstream of the cars here, so plenty of opportunity coming down this part. But I'm pretty sure we will see optimistic passes through the rest of the course, but this is the obvious one, and certainly coming down into turn number 1. And that is a lap around here, Interlagos course, 14 turns, extremely hot temperatures, and like I said, Dave, it's going to be interesting to see if any of the drivers take any tyres.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, we've seen some tyre data from the practice sessions, and it don't look good. That's all I can say in terms of the tyres for the, because GT cars are so used to making the hour quite easily on the tyres, but not quite happening this time. We do have some new drivers into the series as well. A very late entry by Ben Bennyworth joining the series here tonight. He joins the AM category, and it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. I know him personally, and it's he's quite good on our racing, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, as we could just see there David Gill returning to the series after missing the last round. He'll be there trying to support his Reckless Abandon teammate Steve Pearce in the AM category, because I think it's probably a one-car shot in terms of that team, and that is probably not the way to help the tyres make it to the end of the race.
No, I mean, if you come off the track, come on, you're really going to scrub the tyres. So, it's going to be an interesting round of pit stop. Who's going to be brave enough to try and eke out that hour long in the race on the same tyres? I mean, you'd be very brave to do so. I think they got down to around about 30% after a stint, and it was actually Russ Fowler that told me that himself, that the tyres literally down to 30% after one stint. So the cars are all fixed, so they will all have to do a pit stop. So it's going to be an interesting strategy on what these drivers do. It may, in my eyes, is probably worth actually changing the tyres, certainly with the super heated temperature that we've currently got here at Interlagos, and you always do. But it's going to be interesting what they do. But the championship, I mean, it's really hotting up. I think obviously the Pro-Am got Michael Hooper at the moment a little bit far out, but certainly that fight for second place between Patrick Thompson and James Logston just covered by 1 point at the moment. So this is going to be a critical round to see who can either take a bigger advantage or basically leapfrog their opponent in this race. They are side by side in the grid as well at the top two, so that's going to be an interesting start in that Pro-Am. We talked about the pro field there. You know, Scott Mokes currently leading the way over that, but they do have two people very much charging, Aaron Powell and Thomas Cope. pretty much Thomas's momentum was sort of lost at the Red Bull Ring, but hopefully he can sort of get that back here tonight and put the championship into contention again. And then you've got the AMs with Sander and Steve Pearce as well. So it's going to be interesting. And the rookies with Paul Joseph Clist at the moment going out. But let's go through to the grid. So on pole position, we've got Thomas Cope in second place. We've got Scott Mokes, Jacob Behrens in third, Arias Schumantis in fourth, Aaron Powell in fifth, Kim Andre Borkland in sixth, with Nikolai Freyne in seventh.
Heading up the Pro-Ams, we have Patrick Thompson and James Logston, Michael Hooper, Alex Scarrett and Tom Bingham rounding out the top 12 overall. Christopher Otterholt, Russ Fowler, Casper Tunstad, not the qualifying he would have wanted, Michael Cody, Kev Copeland and Bob Humphrey rounding out the Pro-Ams.
At the top of the AMs, we've got Sander Island in P19. Thomas Hasvag, his best position on a starting in P20, second in class. Steve Pearce, right behind his main championship round rival of Sander Island in 21st. Oliver Brevik in 22nd. Eric Grosseff in 23rd. Gordon Haig in 24th. In 25th, we've got Mad Sayer. 26th, Mad Strand. 27th, David Gill. With Sam Curran alongside him in 28th. John Chester in 29th. Joe Sull in 30th. Jimmy Vark in 31st overall.
And then we have Paul Joseph Clist, Matthew Gerard and Lewis McLevely at the back. Ben Bennyworth will be joining the back of the Pro-Ams during the race.
Back of the AMs. Back of the AMs.
Back of the AMs. Did I say Pro-Ams?
You did.
Yeah,
indeed, but,
I'm bigging him up. You've got to expect big things from him now. But as you can see, the Olympus Esports, we can even say a British Porsche Cup GB Esports front row. These guys, both Thomas Cope and Scott Mokes, racing earlier on in the British Esports Porsche Cup. Scott Mokes doing brilliantly, getting a second in the second race. Thomas Cope was a little bit further behind in the second race. I'll admit I don't know the first results. I was prepping for Daytona, but right behind him you have the Ford GT and the Mercedes, followed by the Lamborghini. A huge mix. Look at the mix of cars we've already got in that pro category as they come round the top of the straight, ready for the start.
Yeah, definitely is coming around here to hit the lights. Obviously going under Thomas Cope, so he'll be challenged. He'll be setting the field off as soon as the pace car dives into the pits, and we'll see if he can get to the whole shot and see if Jacob Behrens, who's obviously following close to Thomas Cope, can make that inside move into the grid as they go now. So Thomas Cope come in. You saw Borkland there just dart out wide, and Nikolai Freyne trying to dive down the inside here at the moment. You can see a little switch of placement coming around the centre S's for the first time. Thomas Cope still managing to keep that pole position. Scott Mokes in second, Jacob Behrens back in the Pro-Am. You've got James Logston has managed to get past Patrick Thompson for the lead in the Pro-Ams. Alexander Scarrett managing to jump Michael Hoopler as we look further back to the AMs, and Sander Island gets them underway. Thomas Hasvag in that second place, his best starting position in an AM race this season in the Ferrari. So a great choice of car change for him for this round. Steve Pearce in third with Gordon Hagen. Looking further back to the AMs at the moment, we do have Paul Joseph Clist with Benny Bensworth. Probably didn't realise he was on the back of the field, but joining in with the rookie class, although Ben is not really going to be involved in any of the championship. Probably a good day out of the races for him anyway. But that is the start of each of the classes are well underway at the moment. Just looking here down, it all looks like a relatively clean lap. I mean, Thomas Cope has just managed to leapfrog the field at the moment. 1.3 seconds ahead of Jacob Behrens, who's managed to get past Scott Mokes on the infield part of the circuit. So a great move there for Jakob to push in. Same as Nikolai Freyne on the inside here on the long straight, overtaking Scott Mokes. So Scott Mokes being demoted 2 places down to 4th at the moment. The fastest lap at the start by considerable margin is Thomas Cope, but still very early days in this race. An hour-long race with a picture. Oh, Jacob Behrens just gets it wrong around the centre. This is luckily Scott Mokes just manages to probably just give him a little bit of a tap, but that is terrible there for Jakob in a very strong second position after the first lap, so has to do it all again. But luckily still there or thereabouts to be able to maybe get in. And one thing he probably does have on his side, Dave, is time.
Yeah, it does. He has plenty of time to... sorry, somebody was banging at my door. Jakob Behrens has time to really catch up after that. And there's time, but it's a thing we've seen with the Ford GT. It's a bit difficult to try and get the position out of and really push on. But, you know, he managed to do it last time, and he could do another clean race from here to be able to push that on. As we now see Michael Hooper trying to challenge Alex Scoret in the Pro-Am category. It's really going to be a bit of a long race, according to Michael. Not having the pace here, but you know, you'd be shocked about that considering the pace he's shown all year. And here's Steve Pearce fighting off the attentions of Thomas Ashberg in that Ferrari. He has Sander Ireland, his championship rival, just ahead. And for Steve and for Michael, it's about, less so for Steve, but more for Michael, it is about keeping their championship rival in view. You know, they have enough points to just follow him round for the final couple of rounds. You get to Le Mans and then be able to fight him at Le Mans, where we have the extra points on offer. But it is certainly battle now for Steve Pearce to try and catch Sander Ireland, put him under pressure and maybe go for this championship as it is. Back in the rookie field, we do have Paul Joseph Cliss leading away from Lewis Cleverly, and Matthew Gerard has fallen back there at the start. So I think we have a spin for Matthew Gerard, so that is not going to be good news for him in his championship. He was having the battle as it is, and does he yes, that's a collision,
Lewis, isn't it?
that is with Lewis. Yeah, so that's Lewis. I don't know, it's hard to judge that one from the camera angle we've got. Obviously, if it's protestable, we'll see it later on, but that is one of them where we will probably see it in a few in the podcast in a few days' time and be able to try and call it. But just ahead of these rookies is Ben Bennyworth, new to the series, hardly any practice on this. He actually kind of got it's a bit of a funny story. He thought he was signing up for a different championship, to be fair, and he's ended up wanting to race tonight. We've got him in, and he's doing a solid job so far, just ahead of Paul Joseph Cliss, who we know, even though he's a rookie, does have a bit of pace about him. So we'll see what Ben can do as the race goes on. But back at the front, Nikolai Frayne is now taking the fight to Thomas Cope, whereas Scott Mokes is falling back. Now, Mokes has enough points in hand to take a kind of easier race as a whole. He hasn't got to worry, but just behind, there's the battle of Aaron Powell and Kim-Andre Borkland. Borkland a little off the pace last time out, but now is back on it with Arias just in front. Who I don't know about you, Andy, but every time we see Arias, he's either got a car glued to his front end or a car glued to his rear end. He's never had a quiet race.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Aaron Powell is obviously fighting for the championship. But we did see this last time out in the Red Bull ring, is that Aaron was around about 6th place. And, you know, a lot can happen in these races. A lot of incidents can occur. Certainly when they get to the back of the back markers, they come into play. But this is a bit of a longer track, so there may not be too many back markers there. But Nikolai Frayne having an excellent start, up 5 positions from where he started at the start of this grid in P2. Got a decent lead over Scott Mokes in 3rd place and trying to chase down Thomas Cope. But Thomas Cope's got a 2.2 second advantage there. You can just see him out front. So really putting the hammer down early on. And, you know, with going this quick, this early on, it may be that Thomas is going to be looking at changing tyres. And if he can get that advantage over the 2nd place, he will definitely change the tyres to be able to make sure that he can keep the speed up in the race. But it's all going to be down. Probably expect the pros to possibly push the envelope and not change the tyres, but certainly maybe the pros and the AMs and the rookies further down. But looking back at the Pro-Ams, Patrick Thompson has taken back the #1 spot over James Logsdon, who's now 1.8 seconds behind Patrick, trying to chase him down. There's 1 point between Patrick Thompson and James Logsdon in the championship at the moment. So if it was to finish where it is now, the gap would only be 3 points between the two drivers in second place overall in the Pro-Ams. You can see there, Jakob Behrens has not really recovered a lot from his earlier spin from second place overall, and probably this is aiding Patrick, giving him that slipstream effect, giving him a pro driver to follow here. So it's helping out Patrick at the front, and James is just trying to keep on. He's out of that slipstream, going down the wrong way in timing, close towards the 2-second marker. But looking further back down, it looks like a bit of a battle for P12 overall, with Otto, Bingham and Humphreys all sort of glued together here. You can see the cars. You've got Otto in the front there, Bingham in the middle, and Humphreys at the back there in the Lamborghini. So 3 different cars all glued together here, 8 minutes into an hour-long race. Still very early days, but very interesting happenings on in the field. And back in the AM, you can see Sander Ryland has got Steve Pearce right on his tail as well as Thomas Arsfag, obviously losing out that second place to Steve Pearce. Steve needs to get past Sander and almost hope for an incident that Sander gets into to close that gap at the top of the AM Championship. But certainly going to be interesting what's going on in his final 3 rounds. And like I said, pretty much all the championships are still up for grabs.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, I do think maybe at the start of the race, Patrick may have given the lead to James Logsdon because there was a bit of a mix-up in qualifying, and I don't know whether that may have happened. But going back to the tyres, since the drivers last raced and had to change tyres, they had situations where they had to wait to change the tyres. Now the tyres change while the fuel is being done, so there's less of a penalty to go and change these tyres. So it's there's more incentive to go and do that, and we'll see what happens there. I can see at the bottom of the timing screen, Joseph Soul is out of the race, and looks like no points for Soul in this one. John Tresidder and Jimmy Vark recovering from issues early on, but yeah, it's certainly one to think about with these tyres. We you know, F1 drive, people who are watching F1 would be like, oh, here we go, talk about tyres again. But this is the first time we've had this where the drivers have actually said, hang on, we may actually need it. But can drivers hold on, say, 30% tyres at the end of the race? We will find out as Patrick Thompson makes his way past Jakob Behrens, puts one car between him and the rest of the field. And I don't know about you, Andy, but it's nice to see Patrick back on form almost. You know, we sort of lost him over the last couple of rounds. He's fallen back from Michael Hooper, and this is the Patrick Thompson we had at the start of the season, leading the way in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, he was pushing Michael. They were jostling him for position in the opening 6 rounds of the season. And then we had obviously the big change on iRacing with the cars. So we offered the drivers the opportunity to change the cars, and Patrick changed to the BM. And I think he's taken a couple of rounds to really get used to the car, completely different to the Porsche I think he was driving beforehand, and has really had to get the grips of it. He has been involved in a few incidents that weren't of his own making, really, and a bit unfortunate that has let Michael sort of get away in that Pro-Am category. But certainly a strong fight back here happening with Patrick Thompson here to try and secure that second place. I think first place now is well out of his reach, but yeah, that second place, he really wants to try to secure that. But James is going to fight him all the way to the end. But looking back up at the pro here, we've got Aaron Powell still in 6th place, trying to chase down King Andre Borkland here. Aaron really needs to try and make a move. He literally needs to try and be up quite close to Thomas Cope to make sure that Thomas doesn't leapfrog him. But if it's as it is at the moment, then Thomas will take that second place in the pro standings, and the gap would be slightly less, about 3 points, because obviously the point system that we've got for anyone new that's just tuning in. We don't do it by overall positions. We do it by positions in class. So that's why all the championship are still extremely close together to be able to sort of get the drivers more engaged throughout the season, make it super close towards the end. So the points gap is only 2 from first to second, and then only 1 point the further down the grid you actually get. So Aaron Powell currently in 5th place, managing to get that passing move on Kim Andre Borkland. He does have a 3.2 second gap now to try and claw back to Arias Humantis in 4th place.
Yeah, I was looking a bit further downfield, and Casper Tunston is on the struggle at the moment. He was fighting for 3rd in the championship, missed the last round we had around the A1 ring, and I believe has only flown back home from Dubai today. So maybe a little bit of jet lag and a lack of practice there for Casper. But that is Steve Pearce just in front of him, who's now leading the AM category. And Sander Island has lost the lead to Steve in the AM category, but Casper is in between them. So, and Kev Copeland will be in a minute. So a little bit of a struggle here for Casper, but we know he's got the talent. We know he's got the speed to get back into it, but maybe just a bit rusty after what is possibly a bit of a break in Dubai beforehand. As Steve Pearce now goes to the inside of Kev Copeland and stretches up into 6th place and puts 2 cars between himself and Sander Island, who has Thomas Ashberg in that Ferrari, still going really well. The Ferrari not a popular car because it got a little bit tail happy with the BOP a couple of BOPs ago, but I think it's coming back to the drivers now, and he is really pressuring Sander Island, and Sander will not want to give up that extra point that he's going to lose if Thomas makes it through. 4th in class is Madsherd with Gordon Howell and Eric Rusev not far behind. So the drivers really pressuring in little groups, it seems like, around this circuit. They're grouping into 2, 3s, maybe 5s, but then back in the pro category, they're all kind of spaced out at this moment in time. I don't know if that may be linked to the tyres, getting out of the hot air of the car in front and just trying to preserve them the best you can.
Yeah, we saw the temperature there coming slightly down now into around about the 43. So it's more the Watkins Glen sort of era, because we're coming into around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, gone over the hottest part of the day. So there may be a course that the drivers think that they can actually get to the end, because the temperature is going to be keep falling now rather than getting hot like it was at the start of the race. But Russ Fowler, just looking back here at the rookies, Lewis McCleveny currently in P2. Had that slight incident with Matthew Jarrett coming through their Senna S's, but Lewis going up the inside here of Paul Joseph Clissel takes over the lead of the rookie class at the moment, and Ben Benningsworth at the front is almost like giving whoever is the class leader in that rookie a nice little toe at the head of this field. So constantly just staying just in front of the battling 2 behind of Lewis and Paul Joseph Cliss. But going back to the Pro-Am, you know, with Casper not having the best of races here, his main rival is only 1 place above him, Russ Fowler, who's currently in P15th at the moment, currently 8th in class, is in a little bit of a battle, or was in a little bit of battle with Bob and Christopher.
Sorry to jump in. Thomas Cope down to 3rd place. I don't know what's happened, but Nikolai Frayne has taken the lead of the race. Scott Mokes up into 2nd, and Thomas Cope must have been a mistake because he's now only 4 seconds behind. Is that? But this is through Pinheiro going on to the exit. No, that's fine. Up to Pico di Pato. Gets on the grass. Oh, and hits a wall. That has got to have caused a little bit of damage to Cope's car, but more damage to his championship hopes.
Yeah, definitely did. Just hit that grass on the left-hand side there and spun the back end of the car out, and unfortunately wasn't able to keep it into the wall. It was only a little kiss, so hopefully not too much damage there, just a little bit of damage to his pride. Nikolai Frayne is taking over. Scott Mokes again, he is just Mr. Consistent. He just keeps them them times chipping in, currently up into P2 overall. But yeah, so as I was saying there, Russ Fowler is currently in 4th place in the championship and trying to chase down Casper Tungsten for that 3rd place in the Pro-Am. And Russ really needs to try and get further up the thing. You can just see him there in the background, so needs to get onto this battle here to try and gain some of these places to really make an advantage and make an inroad into Casper's lead for that 1st place at the moment. But with Casper being down in 17th and Russ being in 15th, only 1 place ahead of him in his class, the deficit is only going to be 1 point at the moment. So Russ really needs to try and capitalize on this as we watch Thomas Haag here just going past Casper. I think Casper, like you said, has probably not done a lot of practice on this track, and it's obviously showing here today. He's going the wrong way down the field. Does have Kev Copeland behind him, another member of the Pro-Am category, so those two will be battling out for position out on track. But a lot of the Am drivers are doing exceptionally well. You've got Steve Pearce there in P16, Thomas Haag 2nd in the Am class in P17. Then we've got on the screen now Casper Tungsten, and then we're watching Kevin Copeland with Sander Island in 3rd, currently just behind Kev, just pushing him along through the turn number 14 here onto the back straight. So a bit of a passing opportunity will open up here, obviously both in the same cars, in the same setup. So you would imagine Sander would have that little bit of overspeed with the slipstream here coming into the 1st corner. So let's see if he just dives down the inside, or is just quite happy. No, just pulls out to the inside. No, just happy to stay behind Bob. There's no real points gain for him to be able to make that passing move on Bob, and maybe doing a bit of fuel saving here to try and do the overshot, because he can see his main 2 rivals in front of him.
Yeah, they're not too far in front, but he will not want to be letting Steve Pearce have an easy time at the front. We're back with Kim-Andre Borkland, who's just been passed by Jakob Behrens on his recovery drive in that Ford GT, and right behind him, that's not James Logston, is that James Logston?
Where's Patrick Thompson? Oh, he's up there.
Oh, yeah, Patrick's away and gone, but I was more confused that I wasn't seeing a livery on James's car. That was a more confusing thing. But yeah, no, Patrick's away and gone. James has just made his way past Kim-Andre Borkland into the final corner at Junkau, and we'll get the tow up the line. But yeah, it was just a bit, it just threw me for a moment, because that's normally Lewis's colour at times. So yeah, it's that's Kim-Andre just trying to push James Logston along to try and catch Jakob Behrens, but the pace just falling off a little bit for the Norwegian as the American goes through. Further back we have Michael Hooper, who's about a second behind Alex Scarrett. He's not actually pressuring him as much as we'd expect, and he's maybe going to come under some pressure from Tom Bingham in the end, which I will take the surprise out of my voice, Overlord, don't worry. Tom Bingham doing a great job at the moment, running 5th in class, and Tom's had the pace, and all of a sudden he's now getting the luck he needs in the races as well, in terms of not getting involved in incidents, and he's coming out with some really good results. So that is always good for the Performance Link team. But here is Alex Scarrett in the Audi for IGL Coatings. The Audi always looking, it's always a nice looking car out on track, but we don't see that many of them, even with the bopping crease I've had at times. And yeah, it's a car I really do enjoy seeing out on track, and Alex has really pushed on with it since he changed from Mercedes, I want to say, at the start of the season. Yeah, his results have got much better as the season have gone on, and much more towards where we expect, as we now see our Overlord Tom Bingham under pressure from Christopher Otterholt. Otterholt's a driver we've seen a bit of this season. Quite quiet in races, I think you'd say, Andy, but always had decent pace. But this is the first time we've really got a chance to see him battle in a competitive, against somebody we know who's competitive, not just sort of recovering through the field, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely is. Christoph is a very quick driver, in and out of the season. Obviously, real life commitment stopping him from attending, or did join a little bit late as well. So pretty much his championship was run, but it's great to see the drivers still coming out on track and still battling hard. Yeah, and Thomas Bingham was actually the top of the standings in the practice as well. So. He's certainly got a little bit of pace around here and showing at the moment. Michael Hooper in front of this group that we're watching now. He doesn't need to push. He's got that much of a lead in the Pro-Ams. He just needs to finish in the top 4, top 5 positions for the next 3 races, and the championship will be his. You know, I think what he's trying to do, and very sensibly, he's trying to keep his nose clean. You know, he's just staying out of trouble, just going along his merry way, keeping the points ticking over in the championship, and he's pretty much got it sewn up. You know, after, like we were saying before, Patrick was so close to him and they were battling it out, both of them, early on in the season. Changed cars for Patrick, bit of a change of fortune, and that has really let Michael Hooper get that leapfrog in that Pro-Am division. That's probably the only division at the moment where it's almost sewn up for Michael, but it's certainly not sewn up for second and third as we look back from Tom Bingham. Still not getting him passed at the moment by Christopher Otterholt, who's closely following. But one thing that you mentioned there, Dave, is about iRacing, just trying to equalize these cars, because we've seen previous big patch release, certainly when like the Mercedes came out, everybody in a GT field was driving the Mercedes. It might as well not called it a GT3 league, just might as well have called it a Mercedes league, because everybody was driving it. Now they've got it right. Oh, we see Bob Humphrey there just coming out of the pits. Slow, so
He
that
seems to be
might
going
be
very slowly for coming out of pits. I wonder if he spun and broke the car in some kind of capacity, because he was going very slowly just for letting people through.
Not been in the pits actually from the timing tower, so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe a bit of hardware issues in there, but currently looking at Thomas Asfag, who's managed to get past Steve Pierce again, so it's good. Let's have a look. Yeah, he's just going extremely slow down the back straight here, coming into turn number 4, so I'm not
Can
quite
we
sure.
possibly see? Yeah, could we possibly see on board with him, Lewis, and especially maybe down? Yeah, there's no crab in there, so just struggling in the straight line. Maybe he's got an out of sim issue in his rig, maybe, and he's having to get round to pits as quickly as possible to sort it. I don't really know, but Bob just trying to stay out of everybody's way at the moment, and or is he dropping back to try and help a teammate? I don't think so, but you never know. But you were saying about the sorry, I lost our train of thoughts, because Patrick Thompson is now up into 4th place overall. He's got past Arias Diamantis, and this the BMW has come alive here in Brazil, and Patrick Thompson is really pulling away. Just ahead of him, Thomas Cope is now less than a second behind Scott Mokes, his championship rival, and Cope is back on. That was a little bit closer to the grass that time, Thomas. I thought you were going off again. But Thomas Cope now back swinging in form, and Scott Mokes is now within a second of Nikolai Frayne. So the 3 leaders really closing up together. I've remembered a train of thought. Michael Hooper, you were saying taking it easy, not getting involved in stuff. We said that at Red Bull Ring, and then he pulled a strategy masterclass and came out in the lead.
Yeah, probably waiting for the round of pit stops and hoping it's all going to happen again. And talking about pit stops, we're getting into that territory now where somebody could undercut and still make it to the end of the race. So expect certainly within the next 10 minutes all drivers to be in, but it's going to be interesting to see who flinches first. And this is certainly made it a little bit more interesting now at the front of this field. Scott Mokes only 0.9 of a second behind Nikolai Frayne. Thomas Cope 0.9 of a second behind Scott Mokes. So could be an interesting time in the next couple of laps at the front of this race. But that Pro-Am field though, Patrick Thompson is I think he's certainly had his Red Bull this round. Currently in P4, 4.2 seconds behind this train of cars we're watching on track. So really trying to put the gauntlet down to his rival James Logsdon, who's currently in P7th. But looking further back here, Bob Humphries looks like he's managed to get back on the pace. So I'm just wondering if that was a hardware issue that Bob had in his car, just behind his teammate there of Kev Copeland. So flashing, a little bit of flashing lights there, maybe to the AM driver of Mads Sayer in front in P19, which I think it was, and Mads quite nicely moves over to the side to let these two drivers through. So all interesting, but interesting at the front of the AM. Thomas Asfag has not had, obviously joined the series late. Or as we see Mads just going around the outside, and Kev getting it completely wrong there, coming up to that tight section of track, and Bob just not sure what Bob's doing, to be honest. He keeps on getting the speed and then backing off.
He's a yo-yo at the moment, showing my age a little bit there, but yeah, certainly going a bit yo-yo up and down the tower. But like you say, Thomas Ashford, he got past Steve Pearce, and now he's trying his best to stretch that lead. We've seen a bit of pace for Thomas, but we've not seen this kind of race winning pace from him just yet. And it'd just be interesting to see whether he could keep that Ferrari in line. It was the car of David Gill earlier in the season, and he changed over, and Thomas went back the other way on the bot change. So it'll be and for people who don't know, I just realized BOP is balance of power, so iRacing equaling out the cars the best they can. And like you said before, I think it was Mercedes lockout, then it was a Porsche lockout, and I think they've kind of got it a bit right in time for Daytona this weekend, because all the cars seem competitive. As we speak here, we've got two Porsches all over the back of Nikolai Frein's Mercedes, and this will be interesting down into turn one. We do have a few cars in the pits. Matthew Gerard heading to pit lane this time by in his rookie Mercedes, but it is Thomas Cope and Scott Mokes right up behind Nikolai Frein. The Dane leading the way here on the same place that his Danish counterpart Kevin Magnussen took a pole position in the Formula One earlier in the season, but he is now leading the way in a race situation, looking for that crucial race victory. I think Nikolai's missed out at Daytona, and then he missed out just with second place in Red Bull Ring as well. So it's about time for Nikolai Frein, but will he become the bride instead of the bridesmaid, or will Scott Mokes and Thomas Cope make their way through? They're really piling pressure on right now.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you know, for the underdog, would probably want Nikolai too. He's been there or thereabouts, like you say, the closest ever finish at Daytona. I think it was 0.003 of a second. But at the moment, that slipstream going down that start-finish straight, I would have expected that Scott or Thomas to make a move, and unfortunately not being able to make the move past Nikolai at the moment, or maybe just like conserving the fuel as Nikolai goes out extremely wide, and Scott trying to do that undercut but not quite getting it done, and Scott makes a mistake here, and that has let Thomas Cope through into second place. So a bit of a mistake there by Scott, going extremely tight into turn number 10 and getting all sorts of problems on the exit, and Thomas Cope says thank you very much, I'll have P2 back, and try and get that number one spot back off Nikolai. And in the YouTube chat, Dean Mokes is absolutely correct. The fastest man out on track at the moment is our P4 position driver, Patrick Thompson, with a 1:33.31. Around about 0.2 of a second faster than the nearest speed to him. So an exceptional drive at the moment for Patrick Thompson. So that BMW certainly seems to have this course in the palm of its hands. But looking further back at the rookies, Paul Joseph Clist has managed to make it past Lewis McEvely for that number one spot again in the rookie field. So they both managed to pass Ben, who was sort of the front gunner to Lewis and Paul, but he's sort of dropped behind these two. So at the moment, the front runner, who's Paul, that we're currently watching out on track, has a 2.7 seconds. So Lewis might have had a mistake. Lewis seems to be very quick, but is prone to them little mistakes out on track. But we are now starting to see, as we just tip past halfway distance, quite a few more cars going into the pit stop. We got Tom Bingham, Christopher Otterholt just coming out, Med Sayer gone into the pit. So I'm just looking at the pit times, if they're taking tyres or not. So it looks like they're not. Only 21 seconds in the pit. So the temperature of the track, if you could just pop that up, Lewis, we'll just see what it's currently sat at. And it's probably cool enough to be able to make these tyres last the full. It's still at 43, so still a toasty warm track out on there, but the driver's thinking that they can get to the end of the race without changing the tyres.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just thinking, you know, a little rest in the pits for the tyres might just cool them enough so that they don't overheat too much. This new tyre model for iRacing is affected with the heat, as Patrick Thompson, here we are, closing in on our leaders. Now, I will just wonder if there's a bit of hunger in Patrick to get that overall victory like Michael did at Spa. I just... You know, there's no need for him to be pushing this hard right this second. And I just wonder if he gets into this battle, whether he will still have the hunger. As that's
Matt Sayer, I think.
Matt Sayer, yeah. Out round in a very unusual place. That is on the exit of Paseo de Lago. Yeah, you don't normally lose it there. He just runs a little bit wide. And he tries to catch it. And then it goes again. That is a little bit of an unusual crash there for Mads, but fair play to him getting back around in the right.
Arias, oh no.
Oh. Okay, maybe I'll rejudge that, but well avoided by Arias Yaumantis, who I think continues on by the looks of the time marks. And well done, Arias. Maybe a new pair of trousers for the for the Lithuanian. Definitely probably needed.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, he was in sort of no man's land, but it'd be good to have just a replay there on board with Arias, if we can, Lewis, and just see what he saw when he came around that corner, because it was a great defensive move. Great defensive move there to go extremely wide on that corner and not hit that Mad Sayer. So
there we go.
Let's look on board. Let's get on board. Let's coming around the corner here. Literally can't see the car, can't see the car. Oh my God, there's a car there.
And he'll have to save it on the slip. I will tell you something. That foot was planted. He never... I mean, I couldn't quite hear the engine note, but I don't think he lifted one iota once he got past Mads. And that is... They're not the smoothest of outfields out here, especially on the tarmac, never mind the grass. So... very brave by Arias, but he continues on in 5th place. But these top three, as I was about to say, are coming under pressure from Patrick Thompson, and we've grown to know the hunger for Patrick to try and win this championship. And while the championship may not be theirs, we see another little mistake by Scott Mokes on the exit of that corner. Patrick might just want to try and go, yeah, anything you can do, Michael, I can do as well. But I'll do it in an hour-long race, not a 2-hour-long race. And he's there. He's there for this battle, but will he get involved? That'll be the interesting thing.
100% he'll get involved. If he gets the opportunity to get the overall race win. As we have the top three going here.
Oh, Thomas! Wow. Is that a pass in the pit lane by Thomas Cope on the brakes? I wonder, let's see if he becomes one of the 1 minute club. He did at Red Bull Ring, but if not, that is Sebastian Vettel-esque. China. If we go on board with Tom, I honestly think he was just avoiding Nikolai as he come up to the line, because I think Nikolai just braked a little bit earlier than he expected, and he's had to pull out and ends up, I wonder if he got down to the speed. We'll find out in a minute. But as we said before, the fastest man on the track, Patrick Thompson, continues. And Thomas Cope is still in the pits. He did not get that slowed down. I just had a feeling, and I think it was more because he had to avoid. I think he went for avoidance, and that little turn of the wheel, you can't brake as hard. Didn't want to lock up, and he's avoided Nikolai. But does that now give Nikolai the chance to win this race?
It certainly does. I mean, it'd be himself and Scott. He hasn't got Thomas Cope around him. But again, Thomas Cope could be kicking himself that he's got speeding in the pit lane. You know, easily done when you're that close to the car in front. You almost miss your braking point. But we do have our Pro-Am leading out this race at the moment. Currently 9.1 seconds. Aaron Powell followed him through, so did Jakob Behrens, and he's made a great recovery drive considering he spun on the second lap as we watch Patrick Thompson coming into the pit lane here. I'd expect the rest of the field to closely follow suit, but I think Nikolai will take over the lead again. But looking on board with Scott, currently in P7th, he's lost some time to Nikolai in front, currently around about 3.3 seconds behind Nikolai. So Nikolai's got a little bit of an advantage here as he coming up to some of the back marker flashing his lights. I think that is Ben he's overtaken here, but a great opportunity for Nikolai to get his best ring. And Patrick Thompson's coming out of the pits. Can he jump Nikolai Frame for the first? And I think he has, hasn't he?
It's going to be side by side as they go down to INTERLAGOS. But yeah, Patrick has done it. And I was actually more looking that further ahead, Michael Hooper and Jakob Behrens have continued on for another lap. This is a strategy masterclass again by Mr. Hooper. And you save that little bit of time in the pits, 2 laps of fuel, and it might just work. Jakob Behrens the same. Considering he had his spinners been playing catch-up, to do fuel saving at the same time is pretty impressive. But yeah, Patrick Thompson now leads this race from Nikolai Frane, and now the decision is for Patrick. Do you fight this? Do you go for that overall victory, even though there's nothing there to fight for in terms of points, in terms of prizes? It's all to do with pride. And we know from the way Patrick has driven through this season, he has a lot of pride in himself for his results and the overall championship. And he will want, I think he'll want it. I think he's hungry 100%. To try and match what Michael did in Spa. But Behrens and Hooper are in. Can they possibly get out into this fight?
Well, I mean, wouldn't put it back Michael Hooper after what we saw in the Red Bull ring. But like you say, Patrick Thompson is on fire at the moment as we see Patrick just going past Michael Hooper and Jakob Behrens with Nikolai Frame following on. So they are going to fight it out for the end of this race. Currently got 22 minutes left of this race to go as Nikolai gets it slightly on the inside there coming through the Senna S's. Loses a little bit more time. You can see Scott Mokes there just in the foreground, but there's quite a few cars. You've got Lewis there just behind Patrick. Then you've got Ben in between Nikolai and Scott. So you haven't got the straight race for the top of this grid. There's cars in between each of the top 3 at the moment. But Nikolai, is he going to be the bridesmaid yet again? But this is an absolutely outstanding ride from Patrick Thompson at the front of this grid. Just trying to make a point here, possibly, that, yeah, if it hadn't gone as bad as it had, probably between round 6 to round 11, that it could have been slightly different. But this is probably one up from Michael, is that he's at the moment on course to do it in an hour-long race, and it's not been done. I think the top 3, I believe, is the highest so far by a Pro-Am in the field, but this will take the biscuit and be an overall race win for Patrick, and pretty sure he will be pleased with this. But let's have a look further down the field. So in the AM category, Thomas Asfag has still managed to keep out in front of Steve Pierce. 2.3 seconds is the gap. So Thomas is driving that Ferrari brilliantly at the moment to be able to do it. Michael Hooper didn't do what he done in the Red Bull overall. He came out in 3rd place, so he has gained a place, I believe. Still in 3rd place, there is Michael Hooper. So that's all he needs to do, to be honest, is just stay there, and the championship's his, with Alexander Scaret in 4th, with Tom Bingham in 5th. Followed closely again by Christopher Otter Holt overall. But interesting day. But it is Thomas Cope, after yet again joining the 1 minute club. Seems to be a thing with Thomas at the moment with the pit stops. Did it out in Red Bull, and he's done it again here at Interlagos, which really will damage his championship hopes here. He is now behind Aaron Powell, so Aaron Powell will be extending his lead, and Aaron was probably not thinking that this would happen after seeing the start opening 30 minutes of this race, but sort of Thomas gifting Aaron that second place overall in the championship at the moment. And Scott must be rubbing his hands together, because currently in P2 in the pro category, and quite a few places between him and both Aaron Powell and Thomas Cope. So he will be extending his lead at the top of the Pro Championship, will Scott Mope. So he just has all the luck, Dave, doesn't he? I think every single round. I think last time out at Red Bull, we had the incident coming down into the hairpin in turn 3 where he got through unscathed. Thomas obviously got damage on his cars. I think Nikolai got spun out there as well, and pretty much went on to get some valuable points there. Aaron Powell, obviously, again, had an issue out there in Red Bull, so he's just extending his lead. He's luckiest man in that pro field, that is 100% for sure. But in this race at the moment, you are not mistaken if you just joined us. We do have a Pro-Am at the top of the field in the name of Patrick Thompson, and he is just extending that lead. 3.3 seconds now is the gap between himself and Nikolai Freyne in second place. Nikolai has got Scott Mokes all over the back of his rear wing for a bit of company, only 0.5 of a second at the moment. So this is really the battle for that #1 spot in the pro field at the moment. But Patrick really wants this race win, and I wouldn't put it past him. Fastest man out on track by at least 0.3 of a second in the fastest lap contest. The last lap was a 1:34.49. Nikolai was a 1:35.15. So Patrick, where I thought his tyres might have been cooked because he was just pushing so hard, just seems to be getting faster.
Yeah, and one driver who hasn't cooked his tyres is Jakob Behrens, because he changed his tyres in the pit stop. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with his pace, as he seems very quick. But Scott Mokes is all over the back of Nikolai Freyne as they come up to the start-finish line now, up through the dip of the grid. Nikolai right up against the pit wall. Scott Mokes going to the outside. Will he make the move around the outside into Senna S? They go side by side. He's going to have the inside line for the second part of the Senna S. Nikolai Freyne is still there, and Scott Mokes muscles his way through and into the lead of the pro category. So you were saying about Scott Mokes being able to extend that lead. He's going to extend it even more now, and possibly with another race victory in the class. Whether he'll be able to catch Patrick Thompson, that's a different matter. But just the reaction, Nikolai's car and Scott's car, I wonder if we've seen Scott do what he did earlier in the season and take tyres on the pit stop. You've got the time in front screen there to be able to check the times, but I wonder if he's took some fresh tyres and that's why he was that little bit further behind when he came out of the pits.
Quite possibly. I mean, his pit stop was 22.67. Nikolai was an 18.5. So around about 4 seconds more. So it may be that Scott changed a couple of his tyres, and he's a lot racier now. So maybe there is an opportunity for Scott to close down that 5-second gap between himself and Patrick. He has got a bit of free air now. Nikolai just dropping off, just going out towards 1 second at the moment. Is Nikolai, and I just feel sorry for Nikolai. He always seems to be the bridesmaid. But Jakob Behrens, after his spin, is he's had an excellent race. I mean, apart from that spin on the Senna S's on that second lap, he's just been on a great recovery drive, and he's currently 5th in class, not far away from Arias Romantic, who just seen in front of him. Will have that bit of slipstream effect to be able to get that 4th place overall in the pro field, and that'll be a great result after that spin that literally put him well off the field, almost pretty much the straight after turn number 4, to be able to catch up with the pro fields. But certainly in the mix. James Logston's going along for the ride at the moment. It's probably resound to the fact that unless something happens to Patrick, he is going to take that 2nd place, but probably nice in the knowledge that it's only going to be a 2-point deficit between himself and Patrick. So it's only going to be a 3-point gap between second and third in that pro field. Looking further back now, we're looking at Gordon Haig in P27. Ben Bennyworth has had a cracking drive. He's up to P26 at the moment, and considering he started in the rookie field, around about 5 seconds behind the AMs, has had a great recovery as we watch Lewis here on the outside. Paul Joseph Clear still heading out, as you can just see him in that blue, pink and white Olympus car there in front. Is still heading out the field, but I think Lewis has got the bit between his teeth, and with having faster drivers around him, will have that slipstream effect to maybe close down the gap to make the fight for the rookie win a little bit more interesting. Currently 14 minutes left of this hour race to go, and it's pretty much the only field that's probably sewn up at the moment is that Pro-Am field. You got the Pro field with Scott managing to get 1.6 seconds ahead of Nikolai. So Nikolai may have just given up the ghost there and trying to secure that second place. You got Jakob Behrens, who's got past Arias Mantis at the moment, 8.7 seconds behind Nikolai. So maybe a bridge too far there for Jakob to get it, but a great fourth position if this is where he can end. He does have Arias Mantis behind him and Aaron Powell, who's currently second in the Pro Championship. They're not really made any ground at all this race in P6, and James Logsdon just at the back of this group, rounding out this group, who is P2 to Patrick Thompson in that Pro-Am field. But still quite a few places up for grabs up and down the field, Dave.
Yeah, certainly is. And just a little bit of outside information. If you are watching on the YouTube channel and haven't subscribed already, we're just about one subscriber away from 400. So if you haven't subscribed yet, why not? We have some great racing on every week, and the podcast in the midweek, as James Logsdon trying not to run into the back of Aaron Powell here, really pushing him along, letting Aaron have a fight with Arias Mantis. I think Aaron and James are similar teams. No, sorry, James is Bear Pope, isn't he? So
Yeah,
just getting myself a little confused there with the green and black liveries. They always have green and black, don't they? But yeah, so Patrick Thompson still leads away from Scott Mokes. Nikolai Frayne taking it to second place at the moment, but Behrens with the new tyres trying to close that down. Arias Mantis having to fight off the attentions of James Logsdon and Aaron Powell at this moment in time. Oh, just about does it down into the centre S, and by the looks of things, every car seems to be in this area of the circuit. I don't know if we've got a circuit map we can bring up, but it seems like everybody is around this part of the circuit, and there must be somewhere which is a bit quiet. But as it's a 1 minute 30 lap, it is quite a short lap here in Brazil at Interlagos. And as you can see there, yeah, there's about two groups and then a scattering around the circuit. So, yeah, there is quite a few cars around this area, especially with pros. And James Logsdon trying to get involved in this battle now.
Yes, and I will apologise to James Logsdon and Team Bear Pope. Obviously, their paints are normally amazing on stream. I'm not sure what's quite happened there. I'm seeing James's paint and reveling in its brilliance, but we all know that Team Bear Pope do put out some excellent paints, and James again doing a sterling job at the moment. P2 in class, P6 overall in the field. I think he's done the best that he can, but there's just no stopping Patrick Thompson at the front, doing 133s. I think he's just dipped into the 134, still 3/3 ahead of Scott Mokes in second. Just pushed that lead out to 6 seconds. I mean, you can see the time there. It's just gaining lap after lap. Lap 28, nearly a second. 27 and 28 is really where he's done the damage. You know, near enough a second ahead of Scott Mokes in that. And bear in mind that this guy is a Pro-Am, and he has all the pros behind him, just leaving him in his wake. He's certainly driven this one well, and that BMW has performed exceptionally well in that fixed setup that Patrick is driving here, but he'll be over the moon here to get an overall race win in the inaugural season of the Performance Link GT3 Cup.
Yeah, it's certainly been a great drive so far, but we will not jinx him. He has 10 minutes left to get around, but I think it's at the stage of there's no point in backing off because you might lose concentration. We saw it years ago I think it was 88 with Senna in Monaco and qualified in a race, just lost concentration, hit the wall, Patrick will not want to do the same. As Steve Pearce goes up the inside of Tom Bingham there and Tom running out wide, so Tom getting a bit of dirt on his tyres. He'll have Sander Island all over the back of him, and Sander really still trying to catch up with Steve Pearce. I would like to say, no disrespect, Patrick, but I'm not putting you in the same league as Senna, but a similar error you would not want to make, and that's why he's just pushing on, and the gap roughly 5-6 seconds now. He's just trying to push it out as best he can, but a 34.2 that time round is still really, really strong. As we now look back at his championship rival, the leader of the Pro-Am category, with Cam-Andre Borkland and Michael Hooper fighting it out here, and not really needing to, but Michael making his way past Kim-Andre and has a couple of cars before he can start having a look at his class competitor. But actually Kim-Andre comes back down into the Senna S and carries on that battle, because closer up the road is Arish Mantis, who Kim-Andre will want to go fight as well. So it's a really close battle there. But back in the AM category, Thomas Ashberg is still leading the way, still clear of Thomas Cope at this stage, who's still trying to close him in. Cope's pace not being what it was, maybe just, it knocks the fight out of you when something like that happens. And there's Steve Pearce in the foreground as well, now in the background. So a nice lead for Thomas Ashberg at this moment in time. And Steve is probably just playing a watching brief on Sander Island, because that is the championship fight, and he knows Thomas has disappeared off down the road. But we could have BMW win, a Porsche win, a Ferrari win, and in the rookie category, it's currently the Porsche Paul Joseph Kliss. But I have noticed Matthew Gerard is also 2 laps down. Is that 2 laps down, I think?
Yes.
So he's going to have to start watching himself, because too many laps down off the lead of your class will not put you in a position of points, and that's what Matthew will be needing to watch out for now, because he will need to score every point possible in this championship. But Paul Joseph Kliss just having to fight off Lewis McLeverly, as we see Gordon Howe just ahead of Sam Curran, who we saw have to miss a part of the season but has returned in good form, and he is just ahead of Jakob Behrens, who's in 4th place, closing in on Nikolai Freyne very rapidly. Is that Nikolai just in front? Yes, it is. So there's only 2 cars between Jakob Behrens and a possible P2 in class.
Yeah, I mean, he was 8 seconds behind was Jakob Behrens, and now he's down to 2.3 seconds behind Nikolai, and Nikolai has just dropped off a cliff from pace, so them tyres must be screaming. His last lap was a 136.48, a whole 3 seconds off the front 2 at the moment. Jakob Behrens a 134.6, so around about 2 seconds a lap closing up on him. So Jakob just dives down the inside here, get the opportunity. Well, he thought he was going to get the opportunity as the next car as Nikolai, but Nikolai obviously takes one of the Sim Racing Norway AM drivers there. I didn't quite catch the
Gordon
number.
Howe,
It was Gordon Howe, to get that.
Oh, Nikolai's gone wide.
Oh, this could be an opportunity here for Jakob Behrens. That would have scrubbed the speed of Nikolai, and Jakob will be getting right onto the back here of Nikolai Freyne coming up to the first corner, and Nikolai's not being able to pass that 271 who just pulls to the inside. Is he going to let him through? No, he's not. So this is going to be an opportunity here for Jakob Behrens to get 3rd place again in that Pro, 4th place overall. But Nikolai's tyres just seems to have just gone off a cliff. You can sort of see there the timings, like 2 seconds, 3 seconds off the lead. You can see there literally the last 3 laps, 4 laps, it's 1.2, 1.7, 1.8, and then a 2.7. So them tyres completely wrong. And Jakob Behrens just looking down the inside here out at turn number 4, and I think he's got the speed done. There's going to be side by side into what is, so Nikolai's got that inside line, so should keep the lead here. But Jakob Behrens just comes back and just a little bit of a tag on the back, but no damage done and no spin. So Jakob Behrens seems to have the pace over Nikolai Freyne, and it's almost looks like it's David and Goliath at the moment, and Nikolai is a wounded animal out in front. Them tyres must be screaming. And I wonder if, let's have a look at Jacob Baron's pit stop. His was a
did take
21. His was a 21 seconds. So I think Nikolai has not taken tyres, and this is what we're seeing the effect of not doing that. Literally, the end of this race, them tyres are gone. And Jacob Baron just goes up the inside here into turn number 12. Got the overspeed done and the easy pass in the end for Jacob Baron's, moving up to third place overall. Second place. Well, second place in the pro category, third overall on the field. So this could be a consecutive third
Nikolai's
place.
coming back though. Sorry to cut in, but Nikolai coming back around the outside into the centre S. He won't have the grip to do it. Oh, and he tries to get the undercut on Jakob and hits the back of Jakob Behrens. Nikolai, will he be backing up for this? It doesn't look like it. Nikolai has got back, Jakob's got back going again in sixth place overall, just behind Aaron Powell. But a misjudgment there by Nikolai Frame with his tyres. But I'll be honest, the pace Jakob's got, I could see him coming back at Nikolai before the end of this race. So it'd be interesting to see. Here's the replay of it. Nikolai just having the slipstream off the Ford, goes to the outside. Sam Curran having a watching brief just behind. And it is just the attempt to do the undercut by Nikolai completely misjudged and spins the Ford. Oh, and Lewis, that's Lewis McCleverly, the key driver, almost following suit and taking a nice little grass track, which relieves the pressure on Paul Josie Kliss in that rookie category. But let's see if the Ford GT driver can move forward. I think Nikolai hasn't realised that a new tyre model would mean that you pit and tyre change at the same time as you fuel, and thought maybe you lose a bit more time, but he's losing so much speed. Sam Curran going to the inside of him, just ahead. There's James Logsdon, third overall. We could have 2 Pro-Ams on the overall podium.
We certainly could, and we haven't had that this season, but Nikolai Frame is just losing time hand over fist as he goes into the pits, probably to give the place back to Jakob Behrens there, realised that he made a mistake, but them tyres completely gone. Kim-Andre Portland as well into the pit lane, so these drivers probably did not take the tyres. Literally a quick tyre change here for the drivers. There are, as you see, Nikolai going up on there, so certainly the drivers who did not change tyres.
I think drive-through for Kim-Andre.
Possibly was, yes, but just obviously a shout out to Kim-Andre Portland. Was put into the Pro-Am field, had an excellent pre-practice in Watkins Glen, gave him the opportunity to say, do you want to go into the pros? And he said yes, and he's done really well considering he wasn't put in the pro category, is Kim-Andre Portland, so a big shout out to him. But looking back at the front of this field, and Patrick Thompson, 5.4 seconds, come down slightly, around about a second to Scott Moakes in second place. But, I mean, that's just a commanding lead, 5.4 with what is 2 seconds. You've got 2 laps left of this race to go for Patrick Thompson for the very first hour-long Pro-Am thing. Is this, he's not finished, is it?
No, it should be another lap.
Be another lap here. Out in this white flag. So this is the last lap for Patrick Thompson. Scott Moakes just there coming around the centre S. As you can see the gap out on screen at the moment. Scott Moakes will take another victory in the pro category, but certainly the driver of the day is Patrick Thompson. That will take that Pro-Am victory overall, but will have the accolade of winning a race overall. And Jakob Behrens has managed to get past Aaron Powell to get that second place in the pro category, but will miss out on the podium again. A consecutive third place with that slight incident between himself and Nikolai. But from a points point of view, he hasn't lost any points from where he was before. So a great recovery ride there for Jakob Behrens. But we'll just spend a couple of moments here looking at Patrick Thompson as he's halfway, 3/4 of the way around his last lap here to take his very first race win in the inaugural Performance Link GT3 trophy competition here as he comes around, just taking a little bit wide, really cautious I think at the moment, but I mean, what a great win. Been super strong all day, driven that BMW like a god. fastest lap out on track of 1:33.31, and takes his very first win here, and the very first Pro-Am win outside the endurance race. So congratulations to Patrick Thompson. Scott Mokes there coming home in second place, taking the victory in the Pro category, and James Logston not that far behind Patrick Thompson. I mean, on a different day, it may have been a different story, so let's not take it away what James has done here today. Currently third overall, and I think that is his first podium finish as well in this league. Jakob Behrens coming home fourth, second in the Pro-Am. Aaron Powell, as we said before, sixth when he first started, currently getting third in the Pro after other people's sort of misfortune. And Thomas Cope, oh man, if only Red Bull and this round had gone to a little bit more time. But Thomas Asfag for his very first AM win in that Ferrari, finishing P8th overall. I think that's probably one of the highest positions for an AM overall as well. So Thomas Asfag really coming late, around about halfway through the season, did Thomas, and an exceptional race there in P8th. And in the rookie class, Paul Joseph Kliss manages to secure that top spot over Lewis McEwen. We did see him come slightly off around the center S, sort of following Jakob Behrens, I think. Got a bit fixated on the back of that Ford, but some great winners there. But, you know, the driver of the day is easy. Patrick Thompson winning his very first race.
Yeah, well drive by Patrick. I will pass on a bit of information about I've noticed in the Discord that Matthew Gerard had a computer crash, and that's why he's ended up so many laps behind. Technical error, but these things happen. But Patrick Thompson taking a superb victory, dominant victory, had the pace all day long. And I see in the chat that it's been mentioned that the first race of the Danish Porsche Cup Championship has really made him focus. It's made Scott Mokes focus. Maybe they all need to go do the Porsche Cup, because it seems to be the way to focus. But yeah, it's what a race. Unlucky for Jakob Behrens with the incident, because takeaway is 2 spins, and I kind of think he takes the battle to Scott Mokes here today, even though they're not being his fault. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. And I have actually seen a message from our overlord saying, "Damn, why didn't I take tyres?" But here we go. This is the race result from Interlagos here tonight. Patrick Thompson for the Pro-Am winner and overall winner, ahead of Scott Mokes, who wins the Pro category. James Logston taking a second Pro-Am onto the podium overall, with second in class and third overall. Jakob Behrens and Aaron Powell rounding out the podium, a second podium in a row for that Ford GT. Michael Hooper comes home third in class, ahead of Alex Scarrett, constantly scoring them points for his championship, whereas Thomas Ashberg takes his first win in the AM category, 8th overall, an impressive result with them late pit stops, just maybe bumping him up a place or two, but still was looking fine for a top 10. Kim Andrew Borkland just ahead of Thomas Cope on the line. Christopher Otterholt comes home 11th from Steve Pearce and Sandra Ireland, who round out the AM podium. Russ Fowler next up from Ordvid Bredvik. Nikolai Frayne, the unlucky Nikolai Frayne. A bit of a mistake there, but he was there to be on the podium yet again, and just it's not quite gone for him. Eric Rusev and Arias Yaramantis round out those results there. David Gill on his return to the series, and Casper Tunstad come home just behind the pro driver from Lithuania, whereas Tom Bingham, Mads Schurz, Gordon Haug just finish ahead of the new driver Ben Bennyworth, who, like we say, had to fight back from being in the rookie category at the start of the race due to the late entry. He is just ahead of Sam Curran. Paul Joseph Kliss beats Lewis McLeverly and Matthew Gerard to the Rookie Cup here in Interlagos, and that just extends his championship lead ahead of Lewis. And then Matt Strand there near the bottom of the field. And we also have Matthew Gerard with that computer glitch, meaning he might not score points. The rule will be implied later with the point scoring. Jimmy Vark, Kev Copeland, Bob Humphrey, John Tresidder, Joe Saul, and an early retirement for Michael Cody. I don't think Michael and Joe maybe didn't make the race, so looking at the laps. So maybe they went either on the first lap or overall. But that is the rounding out of your results. And now we'll head to Andy, who has the first of our interviews.
Yes, and I think rightly so. The first person we'll get into the box is the driver of the day, Patrick Thompson, not only the winner in the Pro Am category, but winner overall. I mean, where did that pace come from? You had a bit of a blip from, say, round 6, 7 and 8, where, you know, Michael got a bit away from you, but you've come back with a bang. I mean, where did that performance come from?
Well, I think one thing that does like kind of help my pace out today is that the Interlagos is the kind of technical track that I like. It has a lot of slow turns and like you have to really be good at trail braking, because you really have to like ease off the brake into the turns, and this is like my kind of driving style. Also, I probably have to contribute some of the pace to the BMW itself. It seems like it has been given a little bit of love with the latest balance of performance recently. So yeah, but overall, I feel like it was a good track and good car combo.
I mean, you're very subdued for the fact that the man that's just won the very first hour-long race that's not a pro driver. But, I mean, like you say, you've certainly got that pace. You had the pace at the start of the season. I know you're just saying that you probably should be going down to Am with your speed, but I mean, after that performance, you top of the pile, and obviously fighting out with James Logsdon, who, you know, not to take it away from him as well, finished a very respectable third place overall. I mean, you two are now battling out for P2 in that Pro-Am category. Was that ever on your mind, or do you just put your head down and just go for it?
I mean, it is in the back of the mind every time that me and James are having a really good close fight. But mainly, because in the beginning there was a slight mistake, because I was actually gridded in front of James. So without even talking to him, we just kind of like figured out, okay, this is not right, and I let him go in the beginning. So he started off as the one releasing the pro-ams. And it took me a couple of laps to catch up and overtake him. And I was actually, when I saw the pace in the practice, I was kind of thinking that me and James himself would be battling out through the most of the race. But it seemed like I had a really good pace in the very beginning, and it kind of gave me that little edge, and I just kept that all the way through the race.
Not just in the beginning, you got the fastest lap overall of 1:33.31, 2 tenths ahead of the nearest pro driver. So you certainly had pace, and you were regularly doing 1:33. So, I mean, you certainly had the place around here. The car, like you said, car was on fire for you here, and that gives you a really good platform now. After your run of bad luck, you've got to be flying high now. We've got Fuji next weekend, and then the 2-hour endurance race around Le Mans after that for the final round of the season. You know, I think P1 is probably a bit out of your sights at the moment, but it's going to be an epic battle between you and James for that second place overall, isn't it?
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. Sadly, I think I hear rumors going that James won't be able to participate in the Le Mans race, but I certainly hope he will, so we can keep this fight going until the very end of the season. That would be a fantastic way to end it off. Yeah, but just like one final thing, because a lot of the drivers are actually changing tires. I myself did not choose to do this, and I was in my head. I was like, I'm gonna gamble it and hope that it works out fine, because I was on like 50% or so when I pitted with my lowest tire. And a lot of people did that same gamble and ended up actually needing to pit for required repairs because their tires were completely dead, but I managed to survive barely on my own.
Do you know what you ended up with on your tires?
Yeah, my lowest tire had 21%, so it was quite worn in the end.
Oh wow, I mean, that is just even more of an amazing driver. We saw a lot of other drivers pitting really late for tyres because their tyres had completely gone. Nikolai Thrain was one, a pro driver. You had Thomas Thomas Bingham pitting for tyres right at the end. So to be able to manage to get it, and I believe that Scott did change tyres. So for you to be able to stay out front with the guys chasing you behind without tyres is even more of a great drive for yourself. But congratulations on your first place. Keeping that second place in the Pro-Am, just stretching it out by 3 points over James Logston in second place overall. But congratulations again. And before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, as usual, I'd like to give a shout out to my girlfriend, my best friend, and my family that I know watches along on these Sundays we go out racing. As every other time, it really helps me to perform better, knowing that I have this support like very close to me in person. So yeah, thank you to all of them, and of course to the admins as usual for hosting a fantastic race and a very good league.
Thank you very much for that, Patrick, and good luck out in Fuji in a week's time.
Thank you.
So it was Patrick there, our first place overall and first place in the Pro-Am. But we do have Dave alongside us with our second place driver and number one driver in the Pro category, Scott Mokes.
Yeah, we have now. We've got Scott Mokes in, but he's muted for some reason. There we go. We've got Scott. I think that was Thomas Cope popping in for an unauthorized access, but yeah. Got another win for you. You did change tyres, and it worked for you yet again, like it did earlier in the season.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer around here with tyres. With the track temps being so high, yeah, they just tore it to shreds. So yeah, I was actually at the start, I was umming and ahhing whether to take tyres, but I lost the front end 3 laps from pitting in. So yeah, it was a no-brainer to take tyres once I felt them going so early.
So what's your reaction to hearing Patrick didn't?
That's amazing. That BMW, I don't know what magic is under that bonnet, but that is very impressive.
Yeah, I was going to say to Andy that I never even had tyre wear that good on my old VW Golf, which was very good on its tyres. But yeah, for you, it just extends your championship lead. You had a good day earlier in the Porsche Super Cup. You had a good day here, getting just ahead of Nikolai Frane, who we believe didn't take the tyres, which obviously didn't help him in his battle with you. But you withstood that pressure, got back past him, got the tyres heated up, and then just pulled away.
Yeah, once the tyres were up to temperature, it was fairly just keep popping in the consistent laps, and then I was managing to pull away quite easily. But yeah, I was very happy when I realised that Nikolai didn't take tyres. That definitely made it a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, and before you disappear off tonight, you might want to let your Olympus teammate in the Porsche Cup know how to press a pit in speed limiter. He's part of 1 minute club again, so that's something that actually you had a good view of that, didn't you? You were right behind that coming into the pits.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. I think TC got caught out with Nikolai diving in the pit so late. So I think his braking mark was actually covered by Nikolai's car, which caught him out of it. Yeah, that's super unfortunate.
Where it helps you out, and in terms of a championship, it's kind of protect your lead time going into final 2 rounds.
Yeah, no, it's given me definitely a healthy gap now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward. I will be at Fuji, so yeah, Fuji will be a good one.
And before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah, shout out to you and Andy for commentating, and Lewis for doing the broadcast behind the scenes, and shout out to Performance Link, and obviously their sponsors, Green Future, and everyone else who's involved. Obviously the Overlord as well. Shout out to him, and also shout out to Haley today for helping me. It's been a very busy day for me, keeping me fueled up and moral high.
I'm glad to hear that the sport has been there to help you out, and we will see you at Fuji for a rearranged race next week.
Spot on. Take care, guys.
That was your pro winner, Scott Mokes, and we'll head over to Andy, who has Paul Joseph Kliss, our rookie winner. or we will. But Andy's muted, so I'll take this one. Paul, how are you? It's been a good race for you.
Yeah, it's been an extremely good race for me. I gotta thank Scott Moak and Thomas Cope for their incredible help. Wasn't sure to take tyres or not. So I took tyres. Then he crashed it the last 2 laps there. Lewis hit the grass, I think, and lost control, so gave me a little breathing gap of 2 seconds. Managed to pull away to win.
Yeah, it was a close battle between you and Lewis all the way. Matthew had a computer failure, so he probably won't score. I'm not 100% sure he'll score any points from this race. So it'll be protecting your lead in the championship, really, for the last 2 rounds, I believe.
Yeah, 2 rounds to go. It's getting closer to the end of the season, unfortunately. We'll do this more often.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have the season 2 and you'll be back in it and challenging for the AM category next season in whichever car you choose to pick at that stage. But before we let you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for an absolutely wonderful broadcast every week in and out. Olympus, Tom Scope, and absolutely incredible help.
And congratulations again on your rookie victory, and we'll see you at Fuji. But that was Paul, Joseph, Cliss, and Andy. I think you're back now. So who have we got next up?
Yeah, we're going to bring in the Ford driver. So let's just put it into context here. We threw out the challenge in the gauntlet to the drivers at the beginning of the season to see if anyone was brave enough to take up our challenge of driving the Ford GT3. And Jakob basically, normally an extremely quick driver, quickly put his hand up and said, yeah, I'll take on that challenge. Wasn't the best of starts. We saw it at Watkins Glen. He certainly had the place, got taken out coming up through the S's on there. But now you seem to have got the grips of this Ford, and that is you had 3rd place out at the Red Bull Ring, 4th place here, 2nd place overall in the Pro Standards. Just tell us how you're managing to do the performance levels that you're currently doing in a car that everybody stares away from in our racing.
I have no idea. Into this race, I figured out in practice, I did 12 laps and the car felt pretty bad. And I looked at the tire wear and I had 40% on the rear right. And that was roughly half a stint. So my focus quickly shifted from going fast every lap to just save tires. And yeah, it worked out.
I mean, you had that unfortunate spin at the start of this race. It seems to be the story of your season. You're thereabouts in the first couple of laps, and then you have an unfortunate spin. But something has changed in you and the car in the past couple of races, because Red Bull Ring, I think we saw you do the same. You spun out, and you got it back. Tonight, you spun out in the second line, coming around the centre S's, way off the pace of the pro drivers, but then managed to get back onto it, and not only get onto the back of the pros, managing to get 2nd place in there. Are you starting to warm towards the Ford GT3?
Yeah, I think I am. I mean, it's a pain to drive, definitely. It doesn't like curbs. That's what happened in turn 2. And the damage model is weird, and it's just full of nuances. But I mean, it's starting to work, so I'm looking forward to Fuji.
Yeah, definitely are. I'm looking forward to it, to see what you can do out in Fuji and Le Mans. Obviously, the Ford very renowned for riding around Le Mans. So I wonder if you can emulate the film and bring that one home for the first GT3 win overall in the race in Le Mans. But I mean, it's great to have it, and it's great that you obviously took up the mantle. I'd imagine if you were in the car of your choice, you'd probably be up the front fighting for things. As we see you have an unfortunate spin that we missed during the race there, so on stream at the moment. So yeah, but I mean, it was great that you took the challenge. I don't know if you'll take the challenge in season 2 if you come back and join us. Maybe you want to be a little bit more competitive.
I mean, I guess we'll figure out.
But congratulations on a 2nd place overall in the Pro, 4th overall in the field. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, mate, before we let you go?
Of course, IGL Coating C Racing and Sun Trafikskola, they are important partners. They're amazing to practice with. I mean, I've said it a million times, but I'll say it a million more. And then shout out to Patrick Thompson, which I believe won the race in Pro-Am. So that's really impressive from him, and hopefully he gets moved up the class.
I think
Still
he
late in the
will.
season. But yeah.
I think he will. And he didn't change tyres as well, which is absolutely amazing for him. But congratulations again on a well-deserved second overall in the Pro. And look forward to seeing you out in Fuji next week, mate.
Yeah. Thank you.
There was Jacob Behrens taking on the Ford GT3 Challenge and pretty much rolling in the points at the moment, really getting to grips with that. Dave, who would you like to have another chat with?
Just having a look now. Who is hanging around? We've had Paul Joseph Cliss. Let's have a talk with the 1 Minute Club. He's a founding member of it, and he's going to get a lifetime member of it. Thomas Cope, welcome back to the 1 Minute Club.
Yeah, I think we're great at it. Got speeding and victory.
Scott was saying that your braking zone was kind of a bit hidden behind because you were so close behind Nikolai, and he probably braked a little bit earlier than you expected. Is that the case, or were you trying to cheeky overtake into the pit lane?
I was trying to cheeky overtake. I thought I had the line, and because I'd done a few practices on the pit entry, I thought I got the right braking zone, and I think the added pressure of having another car in there, I got in a little deeper than I should have, and I think I was 98 when I crossed the line, maybe 109-ish. So I was way over. I just completely missed the braking zone and screwed it all up, and that essentially screwed my race.
Yeah, it's not been the best of luck for you, especially last time out, and now, well, we say luck. You were going for a cheeky overtake rather than just catch a speed in, but it's probably put you, depending on what rounds Scott can make towards the end of the season, it's going to be tough for you to try and take this title now.
Yeah, it definitely puts a big gloom on trying to get down the title, but we'll still plug away and see what we can do. I mean, it would have been helpful if I could get ahead of Kim Andre Borkland by the end of the race, but we were too wide through most of the final lap, and there's a few instances there where you can look through in that final lap on your protest day. So that's all I can say.
Okay, so we'll I'm sure we'll be looking through that, but yeah, not the best of. But we've got Fuji coming up, Le Mans coming up. Either of them you're looking more forward to, or you're just going to go full on for both of them?
I'm going to do my best and try and get both wins. It's the only thing I can do right now to sort of keep the championship alive. Like I said, it's still up in the air if Scott's going to make the final 2 rounds or so on. I know he's got a few circumstances that he's probably made you aware of or whatever, but we'll see. I mean, Aaron Powell's up there in the championship with me now. I know, obviously, he finished ahead, so it made a few points upon me on this round, but we'll see what we can do in Fuji and Circuit Le Mans. So.
Yeah, you certainly had the qualifying pace, but not the look in the races. But before we let you go, is there anybody wanting to give a shout out to?
Yeah, the whole Olympus Esports squad, just everyone behind the scenes, IMB for the gear, HSR for giving us all the chances, and Grip for helping us be as fast as we can and maximising where we can in all the cars and tracks that we do. And you guys for the broadcast, Tom for the series, just everything that's always happened, and just everyone around us really. Scott for the amazing race that he put on earlier today and even today during this race. So.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you back at the front in Fuji. And it's another fast pit lane exit, but there's a little chicane, so you have to slow down before you get to the line anyway.
Yeah.
sorry to bring it in. If it was somebody else, it probably wouldn't be, but because it's Tom. But yeah,
I suppose the shining light for you, Tom, is that Aaron, who is obviously you are fighting for that second place, didn't have the best of rounds, only finished 3rd in class, so you didn't lose too much ground in the battle for that second place at the moment. So still up for this round, so there's always a silver lining, mate.
Yeah, like it says, he didn't get the maximum points that he could have, but yeah, just instance with Kim on that final lap, I could have picked up being right behind him in the points, so I'd have lost even less. But yeah, we'll see on the instant reviews what's made of them and what comes from that really. So it's going to be a good decision from you guys, I guess, and I'll back it either way.
Yeah, that's racing, mate. You have good days and bad days. Just chin up and turn to the right and carry on, as we used to say in the military world. So I'm sure you'll come out fighting strong in Fuji, mate. So good luck.
Thank you very much, guys.
I mean, we just saw it there, Dave, didn't we? The sort of different emotions between, you had Patrick having an excellent race. You got Thomas Asfager's very first race in the AM, and then you get the other end of the spectrum. A very disappointed Thomas Cope there, was up there. I mean, he just stretched out that lead at the start. A little mistake coming into turn number 10, hit the wall slightly, lost a bit of momentum, got back onto the front three, and then again had that unfortunate error coming into the pit stop that really put paid to his day. But very much mixed stories across the field, but I think overall it was an excellent race.
Yeah, it was a brilliant race. A little quieter than we've seen on summer races, but it gave our voices a bit more of a rest in terms of the action going out actually on track. But it was still competitive all of the way. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, because we have now hit 400 subscribers on YouTube. Let's keep that going to the end of the season, because I think we must be heading towards 200 people subscribed since this championship started, and that was part of the aim as well, to put Performance Link out there, and that's what we're doing. And while we've got one great championship, there will be another one on its way, but let's get this one finished first.
Yeah, there's still a lot of championships up for grab. The Pro one looks like it's maybe all done and dusted. The Pro-Ams, the AMs certainly not, and the rookies maybe. But there's still the second and third places in each one of them classes that are still up for grabs. We have Fuji next week, and then we have our last round at Le Mans, which is our second endurance race, a 2-hour event. That we will be streaming live here on the Performance Link channel. But from myself, Andy Thompson, from Dave Whitehouse alongside me, and Lewis Aurora in the production box, we bid you farewell for tonight and look forward to seeing you out in Fiji next week. Goodbye.